Carp fishing is one of the fastest growing participation sports in the UK, and with that there's an ever increasing amount of information available online through websites such as YouTube, and a lot of magazine articles and free DVDs available to newcomers to the sport. With all this information, it can be very confusing to newcomers to know how to go about their fishing and where to start, and also a lot of mistakes are often made simply because beginners confuse themselves with all the information. In this video I'm going to try and give you 5 mistakes that are commonly made by beginners and reasons why they may cost you fish in your own angling, and hopefully this will help you stop making these mistakes and put more fish on the bank. Right guys, welcome to another video. Thanks for stopping by on my channel. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. My channel is all about tips and tricks and tactics for carp fishing, but also I like to share vlogs of my sessions and you know, just general sort of chats about what I'm doing on my sessions to try and help you put more fish on the bank. So if you like the sound of that, please subscribe to the channel. This video is all about 5 mistakes that beginners make which will cost them fish. So please leave a comment below if you think I've missed anything out, any mistakes that you see people doing which you think cost them fish, because you know, we want to help each other out, and perhaps when people read the comments they can see other things to avoid in their own carp fishing. So with that being said, we'll get into the rest of the video and we'll start with mistake number 1. The first mistake, and I think the most common one that people make, is to overbait their swim. And what you have to think about is, especially on day ticket lakes, which most beginners will be fishing, there's going to have been someone fishing there before you, and you don't know how much bait they've been putting in and where in your swim they've been putting that bait. So if you turn up and you put in, you know, 3 kilos of bait and fish over the top of it, you could just be fishing on top of someone else's bait, or you could just be spreading the fish out, you know, fishing an area that is away from where someone else has been baiting. A much better approach is to watch the water and see if you can see any activity of the fish, and approach your baiting cautiously to start with, and bait lightly until you know where the fish are in your swim, and see how they're feeding on that given day, because carp always feed at different intensities depending on the conditions and depending on the different day that you're fishing. So they won't always want a lot of food, and also every lake is different, and heavy baiting may work on one lake but it won't work on every lake, and some lakes with more pressure, actually the fish shy away from heavy baiting. So it's worth approaching these sorts of lakes more cautiously. Some lakes where there's very high stocking, you can get away with heavy baiting, and actually that can be the tactic that really works for you, but you have to take all these factors into consideration before you go ahead and fill the lake in with bait. So next time you go to a new venue, maybe watch the water for a little bit, try and see what everyone else is doing to catch fish, and don't go in with a heavy baiting approach straight away, because this can definitely cost you fish. The next most common mistake that you see beginners make is when they cast out, they're not feeling the lead down. Now what I mean by that is, you know, you pick your spot and you might have clipped your line up, or you use your finger on the spool, and you stop the line just before it hits the water, and what that does is it kicks the lead away from the rig, stops it tangling in flight, and helps it land, you know, in a line on the water rather than in a heap. But also, if you keep the line tight as the lead's falling down through the water, you should be able to feel it hit the bottom. Now, not only does this help stop tangles, as I've already said, but also it helps you to feel where the lead's landed and what the spot's like where the lead's landed. So, you know, if you get a hard thud, that could be gravel or hard clay, and that's a good area to fish. But if you sort of feel fairly sort of soft landing it could have landed in weed or heavy silt, and it might be an area that you might struggle to catch from, or you might want to consider a different presentation to present better over the top of that area. So feeling the lead down is a very valuable tool to have in your fishing, mostly to stop tangles, but also to feel what's on the bottom where you're fishing. Another really common mistake that people make is not finding the fish. This is said time and time again in the magazines, on videos, online. If you don't find the fish, you can't catch them. You can't catch what's not in front of you. People often want to just go next to their mates, or be near the car park so they don't have to walk very far, and this won't help you catch fish at all. You need to walk around the lake 2 or 3 times, take your polarized glasses, take your binoculars, climb the trees, look in all the snags, that sort of thing. Try and find where the fish are, and that's the first step really in catching them, is finding them, and the most important step, I think. So if you're not doing that, it's definitely going to cost you fish. So the third mistake, and another really important one, is definitely find the fish before you set up and fish for them. Another common mistake that beginners make is not to check the weather before the session and what the weather's due to be doing during their session. A lot of people seem to just look for a sunny day and go sit on the bank in the sunshine, which is fine, if that's what you like doing. But if you want to go carp fishing and actually catch carp, you've got to look for the conditions where the carp are likely to feed. What I mean by this is a drop in pressure, wind, rain, that sort of thing, and also particularly in the winter months, if you've got a couple of days of warmer weather which is going to warm up the water by a few degrees, then the carp can maybe switch on and have a feed the day after or 2 days after a day of warmer weather. And in the summer, conversely, if you've had hot weather for a long time and then suddenly a drop in pressure and wind and rain comes, that can be a good time to get on the bank. So only fishing when you've got hot sunny conditions can really work against you. So this is why I'm always checking the weather between sessions. Every day I'll have a look what the weather's going to do for the next few days and try and plan my sessions around this, which I think really helps me catch more fish. It's worth also looking at the moon phases. I might do a video on this at a later date, but if you keep records when you're fishing of what the moon's doing, you'll soon see a pattern start to emerge when you catch your bigger fish and when you're catching more fish. So I won't say much more about that on this video because that's for another video, but yeah, look at moon phases as well as weather, and don't just fish when it's really sunny. The last mistake that you see a lot of people make is to have a preconceived idea about how they're going to fish when they turn up to a venue, and they've got all their bait prepared already. They've got buckets and buckets of bait mixed up, and when they get there they just put it all out. That's not the way to go really. You need to do your research, you need to speak to other anglers on the bank, and a bit like the tip earlier about not baiting too heavily, you need to feel your way into a session, and try and locate the fish, as we've said in one of the other mistakes, and fish cautiously until you know how the fish are going to react. If you only ever fish boilies and everyone seems to be catching on particles, don't be afraid to adapt as well. Adaptability is one of the biggest edges in carp fishing. If you only ever fish one way, you may struggle on certain waters where certain tactics are really working well. Don't be afraid to try, natural baits such as maggots, supermarket baits such as sweet corn and luncheon meat and bread and things like that. All these different tactics can help you at different times of year. Don't just stick to one tactic, and don't just stick to a game plan and sort of have a preconceived idea of how you want to fish before you get to your session, because it can quite often work against you. It's definitely always good to try and be adaptive and try and read the water and read what the fish are doing on any given session, on any given lake that you might go to. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. I don't mean to be sort of condescending to any beginners. Everyone has to start somewhere, and we're all learning all the time. Nobody knows everything there is to know. So I thought this video would be helpful for people, help you put more fish on the bank, which is what this channel is all about. So if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for future videos that are coming up. And actually we've got a competition coming. Oh, well, as you just saw there, I was rudely interrupted whilst I was just signing off the video for you. And the culprit was this lovely £24 2-ounce mirror. So yeah, as if to prove what I'm saying is right, you know, you can catch fish like this if you sort of take on board some of the things that I've said, and hopefully, you know, these tips will help you catch a few fish like this for yourself. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember to leave a comment to tell me any sort of beginner mistakes that you think you've seen people doing, or any that you've made yourself that you've now sorted out. So let's get this fish back, and we'll see you in the next video.